What? How you all doing? Lost my arm in the corner. Another week, another update on using a PinePhone, using Manjaro KDE Plasma as a daily driver. Was this full week or two-ish? I don't even know what. I just know it's been some time and it's time for an update. I have to preface this entire video with, I like this phone. I like the idea of a Linux phone. I love the project and all of the work going into it. I do. I absolutely love this device. It's really, really good. If you want to tinker with things and you want to play with things, great. But I think in this video, I'm going to be a little bit cruel, because it's going to be more of the same from the last one. Software moves at times pretty slowly, and it has only been a week since the last update. There are many a place saying that there's lots and lots of stuff changing, going on under the hood. Compatibility's getting better. You know, they're figuring out how to do more stuff with the modem and all this other stuff. Many tweaks and performance enhancements and all that kind of stuff. But realistically, at this point, still, it's very much the same kind of groove that I had last week. And for anyone that says to me, Skaz, this seems unusable, it isn't unusable by any stretch of the imagination. Awkward, yes, but unusable, no. If anyone also says to me, I've never had any issues on Android, or I've never had any issues on my iPhone, or my code is perfect, you are a liar, and I will say so right now. You can't say to me that you've got code that's perfect. Unless you're talking like Hello World, you're wrong. Anything that uses is as complex as this kind of thing, talking to other things and getting stuff done, there's always going to be bugs. There are always going to be bugs. It's just a case of how frequently do bugs appear, you know, whether or not it's actually really problematic, you know. I have an Android phone and things go wrong on it. Something similar to what I deal with on this. And I'm fine with it. I have a mate who's on an iPhone, and on the regular he will call me up and go, damn it, Skaz, you won't believe what's happened, blah, blah, blah. Or you're sat at your PC, or you're sat at your laptop, your computer, your desktop, whatever, your Raspberry Pi, your Pine64, whatever it is, and you're sat, oh mate, your Commodore, and all of a sudden just something stops working, you're like, ugh. It happens. Like, you know, I'm working on my latest document, and all of a sudden, I don't know, OpenOffice just takes a dump, or forgive me, Microsoft Word just goes, oh no, or you're editing and Adobe Premiere goes away, or Caden Live crashes, Sony Vegas crashes. It's not Sony Vegas anymore, is it? I forget what Vegas is now, but Vegas crashes, Final Cut just explodes and takes your computer with it. It happens. Critter crashes, OpenShot goes away, I'm now mixing stuff up, Photoshop's gone, that other one that people use. Like, programs crash, things break all of the time, and it's just a case of whether or not it happens enough for it to become too much for you to deal with. It happens every single day. I mean, even right now, just about to make this video, I was like, oh, why ain't that working? And stuff happens, right? So, do not look at this and go, it's not going to work. Because we had far less features, far less functionality in early smartphones. Like hardcore. No two ways about it. I remember the days. Limited apps. Realistically limited uses. A lot of people were only really using them for email. Very basic web browsing. You know, this is really before like the iPhone came out and everyone was like, oh, I want that. Once the iPhone got into normies' hands, that's when the smartphone really started to take off. And at the moment, this, in my opinion, is sat in that little transition land. Right? That little area in between before things started to get polish. Right? Because a lot of the tricks that you have to do with this are largely the same kind of things you used to have to do with an old iPhone before you could have apps going on. Web apps and things like that. Because you are not going to get official support. I have to say this again. I said it in the last video. I think I said it in the first video. And I've said it in probably 2 other videos before. The trick with the PinePhone is it's a Linux phone. If your Linux desktop doesn't have official support for XYZ, chances are said company is not going to give you official support for the phone. It's just not going to happen. That does not make it bad. So, largely a lot of the same issues I was having in the last video. Still perfectly usable. But let's have a look. Can I show you guys the issue that I was... So, in the last video, I was mentioning how if I make a web app of something using Angelfish, my keyboard decides it's going to take a dump on itself. Many updates. Some people say to me, "Oh yeah, the keyboard has been updated. Is that a thing still?" Right, you're not really going to be able to see that well. But if I start typing, which is actually really laggy out. Well, there you go. You're not even getting a single letter come up on the screen, and I am typing. That's dead. If you get a keyboard and plug it in, or Bluetooth it, fine, and that'll work. But from a web app, it won't have it. I've been told that Angelfish is faster. Rightio. But again, I think I'm being a bit cruel, expecting big changes in the last week. Email client, no improvement. Loads of people say use, is it Geary? It's still... There is a universal scaling option that you can go in and tweak to force things to fit. But as far as natively, it's not fitting still. And I have been told that on other installs, I don't know if maybe they have the universal scale to fit thing set, but it in some places that's the one that they recommend, which is why I tried it on here. It didn't work. Camera for me, I am certain it's a hardware issue. For me, my rear camera is broken. There are regular on the daily updates to this device. But right now, feature-wise, in a lot of areas I would like it to work, it still doesn't. If anything, I actually think that plugging it into a telly for the convergence stuff, so to be able to use this as a desktop, is worse than it was last week. Before, I could at least get an image on my screen. Even if this screen came across broken, it would just cut in half and not render half of the screen. Now I can't get an image out on my telly. I am tempted to reinstall, like wipe and put everything back on the memory card just to see if there have been some issues with updates. I don't know. I'm not going to blame it on that, but I'm wondering if maybe some of my issues are just some bad updates, and maybe I've fiddled with a few things a little too much and they've decided to not be a thing. But not a great week as far as improvements are concerned on the face of it. I know a lot of things have been going on in the background. I've been listening to, there's like a Pine64 podcast style thing where they go through release notes and updates for all the various projects. They've mentioned that a lot of things are going on the PinePhone. Just for me, in user land, not a huge amount's going on for me. Now, I did say in the last video that if you wanted something a bit more usable, go Manjaro Phosh. Plasma is what generally ships, or what will be shipping now since the beta release, but Manjaro Phosh is really a fan favorite at this point, I think, as far as usability is concerned. So, I'm thinking for the next 2 weeks, for this month of PinePhone's daily driver groove, I'm going to get another memory card sorted out and flash Manjaro Phosh to it. And I'll see how that goes. And see if, like, for now, whilst this is, because I mean, I think this is only on beta. There was an update for it, wasn't there? There was like, is this like beta 2, 3, 4, beta something? It's low down in the betas. All right. For the KDE Plasma, Phosh is much higher up there, and so you would imagine bigger number, more stable. So I'm tempted to go, like I said, I'm tempted to give that a crack and see how that goes usability wise. Because like I say, I want this device to be in more people's hands on the daily, so that when it comes to software development and things like that, people will actually have it with them rather than it kind of sitting on their desk collecting dust. I'd also like to dick around a little bit more in the terminal, but I'll probably save that after this challenge is the month on the phone. It's still a perfectly usable experience. If you go back, I'm just consider this an update to the last one. I mean, it is supposed to be a continuation, but just watch that, then come back to this and realize I'm not being hard on it. I just think I am being quite unfair. That in a week's time, I'm expecting so much to have. I wasn't expecting so much to happen, but what more could I say? So I think Phosh is going to be a thing. I really wish this rear camera worked, because I really wanted to dick around with taking some photos. By the end of this thing, I would have loved, by the end of this month, I would have liked to have actually had some wobbly photos taken with the PinePhone. Nothing fancy, nothing artistic, but the problem is, at the moment, only my front camera works, and I can just take some goobery selfies. I was tempted to see about rigging a web camera, a UVC web camera, into the port on the bottom, trying that. But you know, it's. I still really like it. Call quality's all right, but the software is buggy, as to be expected. It's a beta phone. It's a beta device. I have never known anyone shy of someone who has just finished off Hello World to have a flawless piece of software. You know what I mean? It's not a thing. It isn't. So Phosh. Then when KDE Plasma gets a few more updates, come back and have a look. I'm not expecting apps, a lot of them. But the one feature I desperately want right now, is for that convergence to work just that little bit better. Just that little tiny bit better. Just so I can have it on my screen for 10 minutes so that I can type some stuff. You know, or so I can drift around a text document and something else. I would love to be able to do that. Just to actually see it connect from the phone to the desktop would be grand. I'm sure there are other more Linuxy, hacky workarounds that I can do to get this to be more usable. It's perfectly usable now. It's serviceable. Imagine that the smartphones of old, before polish was applied, It's fine. It is fine. Just it's hard to do a daily drive a month challenge and expect to have the regulars. All right, so again, same recommendations for apps and things from last time. If you want to listen to music, I'm still recommending Lollipop. The browser Angelfish is okay. I've been told there have been improvements there. I still can't find a scaling email client. I don't think I haven't really tried to get Signal working. Realistically, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm sending text messages, listening to tunes, and going through Angelfish, looking at toots and stuff like that. I mean, I typed. Let's see if you can see this. All right. So I typed that reply tweet. Well, it's not tweet, sorry, it's a toot there on here in Angelfish. I swear I heard somewhere they've updated the keyboard a bit. It can't keep up with me. So I'm really dogging on this today, aren't I? Wow. But it was doable. But then getting your work done on a Raspberry Pi Zero is also doable. Just whether or not it's something you're willing to tolerate. And that is it with this update. There are still things going on, but are they bad enough to really warrant you going, awful? Or can you put up with it and see as the polish gets applied and go, that works now? Because that's something. When I started playing with this, that's my groove. But that's been my groove so far. When things start to get fixed, I start to go, oh wow, that didn't work before. Or hey, that's cool. You know, you get those little surprises as an update happens and stuff starts working. KDE Plasma on a phone looks pretty. You know, Linux on a phone look pretty. KDE Plasma mobile looks like a modern smartphone. It does. It really, like, this is going to be the one that I think most people are going to eventually, there you go, kind of get into the groove of using. No, I can't do it. It's there. It's right there. As soon as I'm not looking at it, it's there. See that? There. Just do it. It's there. You can do it, Skaz. Don't make the phone look bad, because the phone's fine. Here you go. See? Just wish I had more. I wish I had positives to give you, but I don't. Not this time. Sadly. Now, whether or not I go, I'm going to keep my install on here on the memory card, and I'll swap between the two from time to time to see, like, let's say next week or kind of midway through the week, I'll go, well, I've been using Phosh for a couple of days. Let's flip the Plasma card in, see how that goes, and go from there. Like, have a look at it. Oh, that's improved. Does that work? Have these apps had scaling added to them? Has the universal scaly switch been flipped? That kind of stuff. And then go back. But I'm actually kind of excited to use Phosh at the moment. And I'll tell you now, I've convinced plenty of people to buy these. Even though right now I'm like, Just telling my mate today on a phone call, hey yo, if my camera breaks, you can replace it. Your back cover breaks, you can replace it. The screen goes, you can replace it. Like, you can just remove each and every board inside that phone, replace it, no problem. Like, you should have no worries, as long as we're not in the middle of a global chip shortage, getting parts for that. You know, they were like, "Oh, what, mate? That's rad!" Like right there, I would like to get one of those phones because they can take it apart and put it back together and job the done. I understand that's not a use case for most people, but just imagine you get your phone, you drop it, you smash it, and you're like, oh. Then you go, oh well, doesn't matter, man. I can just go and buy a new phone, clip. All your data's on that back SD card. Telling them that you could boot off the SD card as well. They're like, that's an amazing feature. If I break my phone, I just pulled the memory card and slot it into another phone. And if needs be, I can just clone the memory card and slot it into another Pine phone. And there it is, up and running. Those things alone really twig with well, folks like myself and my mates. There are many good things about this phone. Just there ain't been any polish applied yet. So, let's give it we've got another 2 weeks to go. I still think that's perfectly usable. I'm not really touching hardcore social media, but for the most part, I've been at my desk. I'm still playing with it, but I'm at my desk. Real world usage out of the house, doing stuff like that has been fine too. But again, I have to stress, if you haven't watched the last video, I am not the kind of guy that sits there on social media all the day. I'm not trying to watch Netflix on my phone or Funimation on my phone or Amazon Video on my phone. I've got a perfectly good telly right next to my PC for that. You know, social medias, I will do that when I've got a nice clickety-clack keyboard, because I like clickety-clack keyboards rather than the typey-typies. Smartphones for me are largely devices that I can quickly search things up. I can do that. Send a message in an emergency. I can do that. Consume, text, walls of text. Great. I can do that. And then if I need to send lengthy replies and things, I will literally wait, even on my Android phone, until I get home and can sit at an actual keyboard. Right now, on my Linux desktop, if someone were to wing me a message on WhatsApp or Signal or Facebook or Twitter or Mastodon or PixelFed or Instagram or wherever, my replies would come from my PC. Very rarely will a reply come from my phone. Android, Linux or otherwise. Doesn't matter. Most of my stuff will be done at a desktop. The phone will be used to tell me you've tried to contact me. That's about it. So I am a bit of a dodge use case. That is still usable. Can't stress that enough. I've now been banging on for about 25 minutes. Sorry. But it's usable. Just be realistic, like you are if you use Linux as your desktop. Be reasonable what you expect from it. Because Linux doesn't have all the fancy apps that everyone wants to have, yet we still live. So, do the same thing with the phone. I love it, to be honest. As a tinkerer's toy, I love it. And eventually, when it gets the polish, that's going to be fucking rad. I'm telling you. It's going to be amazing. And that convergence feature, when that gets the polish, it's going to be brilliant. Like, I will literally carry one of those in my... Well, I always have one in my bag, rather than, say, maybe a Pi. Or, who knows, there might come a time when I'm not taking around little laptops. I'm a weird... Again, just an example of another quick, weird, quirk use case, right? I'm the kind of guy that lugs around mini PCs with me if I need them, you know? So if I really need horsepower, you know, I could drag around a Raspberry Pi, or I've got myself, you know, an Optiplex 3040 Micro in my bag, or I don't know, I've got a full-blown gaming laptop on my desk, or, you know, I'm not shy of hardware. But if I want to just chill out on IRC, on a telly, or something, I think, you know, having it on my phone and loading it up like a desktop would be absolutely great. I don't even like using IRC on my phone, and I love IRC. So, God, you're such a nice little box. Anyway, hope you're good, and I'll see you all in about a week's time for the next update. But with Phosh, how much more usable at this point is Phosh than KDE? Probably much more, given that it's had, I believe it's had way more time. I mean, as far as, like I said, the beta numbers are far higher. I haven't looked, that sounds like such a normie, goobery thing to say. The numbers is bigger, so this one's got to be better. I've already said that once in this video, but I believe that's been out longer. They're both desktop environments for the phone. They're doing great. They're doing great. The bizarre mentality is doing great. Development on phones ain't easy, and yet it's working. I'll see you all in the next one. Any questions? Feel free to ask. Anyone that's using one of those, let me know how you're getting on. You know, what do you use? Do you use Phosh? Do you use Plasma? Do you not use the Manjaro spin? Do you use, say, Postmarket or whatever? What do you use? What do you do? Do you want one? What are the features you want? See you in the next one.